Hello and welcome to Crypto News. It's March 19th, 2026, and the top cryptocurrency news is this. We're going to see which are the first currencies that are considered commodities and not securities by the SEC. As we saw in the previous episode, the SEC considers most cryptocurrencies to be commodities. However, officially we have the first 16, which are Aptos, Avalanche, Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Cardano, Chilling, Dogecoin, Ethereum, Hedera, Litecoin, Polkadot, Symbionis, Solana, Stellar, Tezos, and XRP. These are definitely considered commodities and not securities. And theoretically in the future, the SEC will publish additional lists, and the ones that are not on this list, you know what they will probably be security coins, and I don't know how good the future is going to be with these coins. And we've broken them all down in the Crypto News episode 2 weeks ago, and we'll keep going. For our news, we'll go back to the SEC, which explains why NFTs don't comply with securities laws. Specifically, in an interview with CNBC on Wednesday, Atkins reiterated that the agency's recent interpretive publication identified 4 types of digital assets that are typically not considered securities: digital commodities, digital tools, digital collectibles like NFTs, and stablecoins. Atkins said that digital collectibles are generally treated as objects that are bought and held, similar to physical collectibles, and not as investment contracts, the defining characteristic of securities. So from the SEC, we'll go a little bit to our stock exchange and go to FTX, which on March 31st, 2026 will distribute $2.2 billion to creditors. So those who are waiting for money from FTX will get some. Then, while Kraken is delaying its plans for an initial public offering, IPO, of $800 million because the cryptocurrency market is not in a good place, as you already know. Of course, if the market is greener, it will make more money. Binance is ready to delist 8 different coins on April 1st, 2026, which have already fallen, and these are A2Z, Forthook, IDEX, Loopring, NTRN, RDNT, and SXP. And while all this is happening, the Algorand Foundation is cutting its staff by 25% because, as we said earlier, the market is not doing well at all, so they are looking for money. We'll go to Bitcoin, which is at $70,000, with the price falling from $76,000 to $70,000, and the reason is to announce what the Fed did. Let's start by saying that the Core Producer Price Index, PPI, came out on an annualized basis, which previously was at 3.4% and now went to 3.5%, but as I said, they didn't like the Fed's statements. First of all, the Federal Reserve, Fed, kept its benchmark interest rate range steady at 3.50% to 3.75% on Wednesday, as expected. The S&P 500 to fall by 0.55% each. The yield on the 10-year U.S. Treasury note remains one tick higher at 4.21%. The Fed also updated its economic forecast. Of particular note was the significant increase in inflation expectations, now at 2.7% in 2026, up from 2.4% previously. However, inflation is expected to fall to 2.2% in 2027, down from 2.1% previously. The so-called dot chart continues to show expectations for a 25 basis point rate cut in 2026 and another in 2027. And what is the reason for these numbers that I told you about? That our market doesn't like them at all. A very important reason is geopolitical uncertainty, as the Fed said. The housing sector remains weak and the labor market is showing signs of weakening, Powell said, while inflation remains somewhat elevated above the Fed's 2% target. He added that the war in the Middle East has further clouded the economic outlook. He said, the implications of events in the Middle East for the U.S. economy are uncertain in the near term. Higher energy prices will increase overall inflation, but it is too early to know the extent and duration of the potential economic impact. And I can already tell you that we are seeing these consequences because Qatar is reporting extensive damage from the Iraqi bomb that hit Ras Laffan, the world's largest LNG facility. That facility represents 20% of the world's LNG supply, and that is why, as soon as that hit happened, the price of spot oil reached almost $110 a barrel. So, as you already understood and as we knew, energy prices are also what keep the population high, and without the population falling to the Fed's 2% target, we will not see a rate cut, and without a rate cut, we will not see a price cut in altcoin season. Only Bitcoin will sit and move according to market events. That wraps up the top news for crypto today, March 19th, 2026. I'd like to remind you that the content you just watched is created for educational purposes only and should not be considered as investment advice, but rather as investment opinion. Please subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and feel free to comment. Take care, everyone, and have a good day.